Good morning, buenos dias. It is 5:30 on Thursday, September 29th. I only know that because my buddy's getting married on Saturday. So, this is DR42, Be Your Authentic Self. So, this book that I'm reading, Relentless, From Good to Great to Unstoppable, it talks a lot about athletic competition, sports competition at the highest level with guys like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Dwayne Wade. And as I believe with the content that I teach that I learned from professional fighting, all of this stuff is transferable to real life. So whether we're talking about performing in a high stakes game in the NBA championships, or whether we're talking about performing on a daily basis in your home, in your school, in your business, the principles I truly believe are the same across the board. And in today's chapter, he talks about being in the zone. So when we think about being in the zone, we're looking at Michael Jordan swishing three-pointers, or Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, all these kind of far-off characters in our lives. And I'm going to relate that to you. I'm going to relate that to me in my daily life, sitting here in my office or waking my daughter up. But one of the things I want to just briefly talk to you about, he talks about being in the zone. And the author Tim Grover talks about being in the zone as this absence of emotion. And when I'm talking about absence of emotion, he mentioned several times how prior to games, that some people get all amped up and ready to go and rock and roll, and you build up your emotions so high, so high, so high, so high, and then boom, something happens that just sets you off, or it's a trigger that puts you out of that emotion, and then it comes crashing down. So the author really recommends, and I agree with this, and I'll prove you. I'll tell you an example right here. The author recommends just maintaining control of your emotions. In whatever you're doing, maintain control of your emotions. Whether you're talking to a kid at a school, welcome Kevin, whether you're talking to a kid at a school who's just keep trying to go around and win the argument, or whether you're talking to a boss or an employee, keep your emotions in check. Don't have an emotional high. Something happens, boom, you come crashing down. Then where are you at? And I want to tell you a quick story about this. So when I fought Rick Story back in 2011, this was the biggest opportunity in my life, and everything was just conspired for me. And I was going to the cage, and I was totally in the zone. I was listening to Run This Town. The music was awesome. It was awesome. I was about ready to get in the cage, and I was just walking, looking. And all of a sudden, I saw my good friend, Matt Anderson. And I write about this in my book. I saw my good friend, Matt Anderson, and boom, I was out of the zone. Because I thankfully, I was able to get back in it. But it was that one factor, one external factor outside of myself that I couldn't control. I couldn't control the audience, and I had allowed myself to take notice of the audience. I saw Matt, and I remember thinking like, yeah, oh, hey, Matt, what's up? And then it boom, it snapped back in me, get back in the zone. So as you're going on, control those emotions, stay at an even keel, at an even pace, because when you're depending on outside factors to get you amped up, you can't control those outside factors. Keep it calm, keep it within yourself. The next thing he talks about is being your authentic self. And I learned this at a young age in my everyday life, but also with professional fighting. And how can you apply it to yourself? The author talks about being your authentic self, being who you truly are, and not who everyone expects you to be or whom everyone wants you to be. So he told a story about Michael Jordan, and he would talk about Michael Jordan on the court. And he would say that, from the time Michael Jordan left his hotel room until the time that he showered after the locker room and walked out into the world, they said from that time frame, from the time he left until the time he showered and walked out back into the world after the game, they said he was his authentic self. He was Michael Jordan. He was the killer on the court, the controller of his nerves. And then when he hit that point after the game, after the shower, that's when he allowed himself to be, it actually says, he allowed himself to be the Michael that everyone else wanted him to be. So when you're going through your daily lives, really, be yourself. Don't be the guy that other people want you to be. Be your authentic self. And this isn't just fluff. I'm not just trying to say, rah, rah, yay, be yourself, yay. When I was fighting in the UFC, I knew who I was. I'm a wrestler who became a fighter. And then I started to listen to that noise from the outside. I started listening to Joe Silva tell me that I was a terrible, boring fighter. And I let it get into my head. I stopped being my authentic self. I tried to be something I wasn't. I got knocked out. I got choked out. Boom. Be your authentic self. That's your best self. So be the person you are, not the person that other people have expected you to become. You see it all the time in business. People get so stressed keeping up with the rat race, rather than just being themselves. Just be your stinking authentic self. And then the last thing that I want to read, and I read it similar in this book, Relentless, with Tim Grover, but it talks about emotions in our lives. And think, if you're a parent, or if you're a coach, or if you're an athlete, you know, one of those should be applicable to you. You know, your daughter's trying to tell you something, and you just feel this anger starting to come up, or a student's talking to you, you just feel this anger. And I want to read you something. I read it out of the book, and then I thought, man, that is in my book too. So this is coming from my book, Driven. It says, I denied one of the most fundamental principles of athletic success. This is success across the board. You control your mind. Your mind doesn't control you. I should have stopped real life, focused 100% on the task at hand, and then resumed reality after the fight. You control your emotions. Your emotions don't control you. What I'm referring to there is, in a fight, my strength coach, whom I talked about, had passed away the day before the fight, and I allowed that to creep into my mind during the fight in the UFC octagon. I allowed myself to be thinking about my coach rather than focusing on the task at hand. So I wasn't strong enough at that point to really control those emotions. But it's not your ego controlling you, it's you controlling your ego. So take control of your mind. Don't give in to your stinking mind. And that's it for today. If anyone has any questions, or anyone wants to talk further, I'd be happy to do it. I have a couple minutes here, but the main things we went over today is, one, being in the zone, and the importance of not having those emotions when you're in the zone. You're even keel. When I train people physically, I always say, come back to resting heart rate, come back to reality, come back to reality, boom, and then you start the next thing. Get rid of the emotion. Be your authentic self, the person you are, not the person that people expect you to be. And lastly, you control your emotions. So I hope you all enjoyed it. I will be back tomorrow with DR43. Have yourselves a great day. I will ask you to do this. If you've been watching these videos, this is a 40-second one, and I've been getting anywhere from 150 to, I think, 800 views on all of these videos. So about 150 to 800. I want to get 1,000. I want to get 2,000. So if you've been watching these and you've enjoyed them, I'm going to ask you a favor. Just click share. If you don't like it, don't do it. But if you've been enjoying it, it's helped you in some way, just share it. I would love to get 1,500 views on this video. That is my goal, and I can only do that with your help. So if it's possible, do it. If you want to talk further, contact me, social media, message me, notifications. Have a great day.